screen recording works. So we had a massive drop here, as you can see earlier. I mean, there was this rising wedge which suggested a drop would come, and in the end it did. It kind of tested the top again. We had various divergence on the 4-hour, rising prices, lower on the oscillator, which does also suggest that often enough you'll get a kind of reversal, which is what happened here. A massive 6.6% drop on Bitcoin. We had it on Ethereum. A very big drop there, 5%. Bucking the trend is Litecoin, which is strange when you look at all the altcoins. They're all down 5%, except Litecoin. Now I did have it on the chart, to be honest, as you can see from all my 1,000,001 lines here, that Litecoin would have a breakout. Usually, when it breaks the trend line, it goes the other way for a while to the next support or resistance. We broke out here and we went down almost to the bottom, as you can see there, literally, which would have been the target. And now we've broken out again here. So the target doesn't always reach, it is around there. It doesn't always reach the top. I would suggest that this trend line here will be strong resistance. Or even the current region, I wouldn't always expect it to go too far. So because of the market overall, I wouldn't really expect Litecoin to keep going up. So there we are. Now I did mention to you on the bigger time scales. I've got a lot of different things open here, but I will just go to my main one for Bitcoin. I told you on the big time scales that we might get a reversal. So this is what I'm talking about now. Overall, since the massive crash that took place over the period of a year, we broke out of that. And then we had also a kind of falling wedge here that we broke out of, and we've gone, reached the target for that one. I mean, the overall target is back to the top, but in the meantime, that can take a very, very long time. In the meantime, we've got bearish divergence on the weekly here, so we've got higher prices but lower on the oscillator. Okay, that might suggest that at some point we're going to have a decline here or a big reversal. The same thing is on Ethereum and various other coins. Just going back to the Bitcoin chart. Now, if you look on the monthly as well, we got something similar. We've got bearish divergence. This is what they call hidden divergence. So it's higher on the oscillator, lower on the price. Now, this is on the monthly, and it's over a very, very long time period. So you might think it doesn't mean anything, but these are quite supposedly the bigger the time period, the more relevant the signal, or this is an indicator. Okay, so like it's a technical indicator. Now, what I was talking about earlier was on the very big, so on the previous crash of 2018, this is literally the previous cycle. So here is 2020, May 2020, I think is the last halving. From that point, we absolutely skyrocketed, okay, and then we've crashed now. This was what happened before. September 2016, I think, was the halving, and then we shot up and we went down. So chronologically, where we are now is basically here. Okay, so there's a bit of a run up and then back down again. Now, we've already had a bit of a run up. I think soon we're going to start heading back down. That applies on the various coins. And what often happens is what a lot of people talk about is Bitcoin becomes dominant in the crypto market. So people start hoarding Bitcoin. They sell their altcoins into Bitcoin. So it doesn't mean Bitcoin goes up, but it means if Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down even more. That's what they call Bitcoin dominance during the bear market cycle, and maybe at the beginning of the bull rally. So at the beginning of a bull rally, this happens. Bitcoin shoots up, and then at a later time, everything else catches up afterwards, which I could show you on other charts. Now, anyway, just going back to here, as you can see, we had this big run up in 2019, and then June, July, it basically stopped in June, and then July, and it went all the way back down. In fact, it pretty much went back down to the low there. That was the Corona crash right there. The low was $3,800. Here, the low was $3,300. So it pretty much went all the way back down after a 300%. That's a 300% increase. Okay, we haven't quite had that just yet, and I don't know if we will have that, if I'm honest. I'm not convinced we will. Now, also what we had then is this bearish divergence. Now, you can see exactly the same as what we've got now. We went up, and the monthly became oversold. I mean, you could compare it to I mean, it's to here really, or to here, but actually there was no monthly bearish divergence, but it did just become, generally speaking, overbought, not oversold. So now we've got something very, very similar here now. Okay, we've got, in fact, this is more of a bearish divergence, so it seems even more likely that it may come back down. We've got higher on the oscillator, but lower on the price, which basically means there should be a correction here to balance this out, unless something fundamentally different is happening now, which a lot of people are going on about on YouTube, but I think it's all hysteria, to be honest. I don't think anything fundamentally has really changed. So anyway, and you can see the same thing on Ethereum. Look, on the monthly, we're approaching bearish divergence. It's going to happen, and then it's likely to come back down. I mean, you could also say this is a bear flag. So it's come down, consolidating here. It might go down even more. I think we will. I think we'll come down. I'm not sure where to, so I'm kind of waiting on the sidelines right now. Through my own bad trading, if I'm honest. But I am waiting for a kind of longer term drop. It might not happen now, it might go up a bit more, but I do think we're going to come back down at some point soon. And you can see it, so like I say, on the monthly we're approaching bearish divergence. On the weekly we've already got bearish divergence, but there needs to be that's just an indicator, it's not a signal. And there's no huge pattern to suggest that we're immediately going to go back down right now. So it depends. If we stay above these supports, there's obviously a lot of support here. We got the 200-day moving average. That's the 200-week moving average. We've also got the 200-day. I think it's actually quite a bit lower. This is on Bitcoin. If we look on Ethereum, we've got the 200-day, for example, about 1,550, and we've got the 200-week. Is it in a similar place? I believe it is. So the 200 weekly and daily are in similar places. That's exponential moving average. There's all sorts of different moving averages. That's the one I like to use. If we look at it on Bitcoin here, we've got at 25,000 is the 200 week moving average, and the daily is at 22, so much lower. Anyway, if you look at it here, I mean, there is perhaps a sign we could have more of a correction. We do need to go down. I think we need to close perhaps below this line here. This was previous resistance. That could now become support. We'll have to see. But that's a big drop on the news from the Fed. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went down a bit more again. Anyway, sorry for the very long video. This was a trial run on my screen. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me the ability to have my face in the corner. That would be quite good. So let's see how we go here with this.